I am Adam Robert Paul from The Destruct Principle. We have Jared Barkley Wood and Avery joining me for the very first From the Devil's Den podcast that has everyone except Razor, who could not be here. But this is more of a just kind of free flow, behind the scenes thing that we're going to start doing, where we can do discussions and ideas and deep dives into concepts that we think are interesting. So we had all discussed different ideas that we could do, and we kind of landed on this one being the first one of stage personas, our characters of what we portray on stage and how it correlates and mixes with who we are off stage and how it differs. So before we start really with anything like that, obviously this is the first one we're doing, and it's, going to be all over the place, most likely, but that is the fun of it. So I will let them both introduce themselves as well. If you want to start.
Hi, I'm Avery. I do drums and I sing.
You're going to want that closer to your mouth.
Like this? I don't know. Okay, is this close enough?
That works. And probably by the time you see this, you will also see the member introductions ones that we recorded already. So you'll know more about everyone if you don't already from following us. And now we've got the JBW.
Yes, as Adam said, my name's Jared. I play alongside these two fine human beings in our project, The Destruct Principle. I do percussion, occasional guitar, and backing vocals, as well as other miscellaneous existential things, I suppose, but that's the gist of it. Hi.
All things in between. It's also interesting because with, obviously we've done other groups in the past. We're involved in other groups as well. So you've got all these different aspects coming in, influences. So as we constantly move forward, things change in exciting ways. But again, with this, we've landed on discussing the stage personas, the stage identity that we have, and how that both is similar and differs. So I guess if we go back to what was our first sort of stage performance, which was the Chaos Ritual, that was a much more violent and I don't want to say darker, because I think what we do now is darker than what that was, but in a different way. But
it was very unhinged.
Yes. Also, that's a good point. With these, since we are multiple lines, feel free to talk over me, and it's not going to get in the way. But, yeah. Also, another thing that would be good eventually is we can all be fancy and have the headphones on so we can hear each other aside from room noise. Anyways.
We'll make do for now.
Yes. Again, first one we're doing with multiple people, so, you get to see all the behind the scenes and fun stuff. But with the Chaos Ritual, if you saw videos of it, as Avery said, it was much more unhinged. It was, or as Jared and I would call it, controlled chaos, and that it was put together, but once we were on stage, it was kind of anything goes. And we sort of had that agreement that anything that happened on stage, don't, if anything happened, don't take it personally if it was harmful, because off stage that, it was different. But yes, there was physical aggression, bloodshed, and at the time, in a different way, myself personally, there was a lot of aggression to come out just in that way. So if we're talking about how that stage performance persona differed or was similar, it was pretty much very similar to what, at least internally, just again amplified, because we're obviously not going to be bleeding and shoving needles into my forehead off stage normally, but it definitely helped. Obviously, the first album, The Malignant Hymn, and those performances helped me in a lot of ways to just get that release that was necessary. So with that, how I portrayed myself during that era was beneficial and very much who I was off stage, just in a less visceral, angry way.
Right. From day one with the project, we've wanted it to be, equally as important, the contrast between the music and the visuals. We've wanted it to be a very visual project, meaning, we're not just going to get on stage in our t-shirts and jeans. We are people that like to express ourselves visually, and I think we can all agree, like, all of our favorite bands were bands that are, more theatrical, more kind of over the top, who really had a package, music and presentation. So the visuals for us, like I said from the very beginning, were always like of equal importance to the music. They go hand in hand. None is, any less important than the other as far as the two aspects. And yeah, like he was saying, in the beginning of the project, it was, the same spirit, but just a slightly different, color palette. The same painting but just some different shades back in the day. Yeah, it was. I would say it was almost, for me personally, like there was a definite element of black metal to the sound. Some of the songs were heavier, more guitar based, more guitar driven. A lot of the material in the first album was a lot older as well. Some of those songs are pretty old, so back then we were just under a different influence. And of course, anything that you're doing as, I guess, an artist, when you create something, you're creating something, and it's kind of like a snapshot. It's a moment in time. That's where you were at that time when you created that. So back then, like I said, with that musical influence tied into the visual, it was a little more, for me, a little more metal. I wore spiked gauntlets and big boots and corpse paint-ish, face paint, my hair down, and so it was a little more street, I guess I would call it too, compared to now. But again, it just...
You had a t-shirt thing going on with a different t-shirt every night. That was fun.
I'd like to wear just crazy, just almost, I don't want to say offensive, but maybe shocking kind of t-shirts I would wear with the sleeves cut off. And I had shirts that said just 666, Saved by Satan was a favorite of mine. I think my favorite shirt that I wore back in the Chaos Ritual era, as we call that, the shows from the first album, was I had a really cool Jim Jones shirt from the Jonestown Massacre. Yeah, so anyway, that's what I would say as far as how I looked during those beginning earlier days of the band. And like I said, the visual aspect is, it's something that we feel, I think, can all agree, should change in time as we as people change in time. What you're creating is a reflection of you in that time. So back then, that's what we had going on, I think. Now it's just it's a little different. But I'll stop.
I think with that, saying about being more black metal or just more of the aggressive, is just, since that was kind of the early era, you know, it just we had that aggression of, I don't want to say like just that sort of aggression in it, because there's still a lot of aggression just channeled differently. But, and again, each person's influence, because I know, you know, especially with you, you're a huge fan of that genre, and so it's, you know, I think that it's everything that we have that was influential, but also what we turned to first, and that now the same thing with the entirety of the project, that as it has time to kind of grow and we see where it leads, we also take things that are still current influences and more so, and morphing it. But then, you know, with you've taken on a wider role in current times than back then, because that was more.
Oh, definitely.
That was more
It was a
stage performance, and not so much player in the game of the sounds. Which still, I mean, you know, that was still good, just different from now. But yes, give your answer.
Yes, I was a bit of a crazy demon back in the days, pretty much being possessed on stage by something inside of me, which was so much fun. I was kind of not with it for most of the shows. I kind of went to a different place, and it let me express lots of things inside of myself that I normally wouldn't, because I'm very quiet and reserved off the stage, but I'm naturally a performer, so it was fun to just feel the music and just let the crazy beast inside of myself out. And I was very different on stage. I feel like I scared a lot of people, and people were kind of afraid to approach me at the merch. But then once they started talking to me, it was fine. But it was pretty nuts. I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
That's the beauty with this project, is that, we call it a self-transformative psychodrama for a reason, and we take it pretty literally, I think, in our own individual ways. But we, it's like you said, you're able to go on stage and perform and release something within you that you're not able to do in your day-to-day life, and certainly the visuals tied, hand in hand with that. I think we can all relate to that, so, and it's something that still holds true today,
I think if even more so today, with, I don't know if it's just that it's more current, but I mean, with what we're currently doing with the Greater Magic movement and the Greater Magic rituals, it just, I don't know, especially, and it feels like they keep amplifying more and more, at least for me, mentally and emotionally, spiritually, it's, which is great. I'm happy about it. It would be disappointing if it lessened, but if anything, it's, and I think that's also to do with some of the new ideas and things that are being worked on, but it's been really enjoyable, the last few performances we've done, where it really does just, I sort of have this out of body experience that and then because normally we try to make sure we record each performance just to look back on after and critique and things like that, but and also now that we've kind of changed up the setup we have, as far as sound and things, if we're getting into the technical side, we pretty much have full control of our sound, and so we're trying to record each show and have good audio so we can have just a lot of material for people to watch. If you can't make a show, obviously there's no substitute for actually being at one, and we've had a lot of people confirm that, where they say, oh, I've seen videos and things live, but there's no comparison to when I'm actually there, which is the point. But I just, the more and more that it feels like we're hitting our stride with what we're channeling, at least where it seems to be going, has me excited. And it's I don't know really how else to explain it. It's almost, again, it's like this sort of out-of-body spiritual feeling, and I don't know if that's just where I am personally right now, or if that is having an influence on where I'm going myself. But it's either way, it's something I'm very happy about and looking forward to dive into deeper, and it's influencing where I'm looking to take what I feel is the right direction with myself in it, if that makes sense.
Well, we call our shows rituals. We call our shows rituals for a reason, because it is a ritual, and it's just the act of live performance in and of itself is just ritualistic. You prepare mentally, physically, you build it up within you, and then you have that moment on stage to do what you've been wanting to do for so long.
It's really exciting.
Absolutely. It's cathartic, it's
Yeah.
exciting, it's all sorts of things. And certainly for us, when we call our shows rituals for a reason, and I think I mean, it speaks for itself if you do see us perform live, and I think it makes sense to refer to our performances as rituals for all the reasons you guys have just been saying, because of what you get out of it and what we put into it, hopefully what the audience gets out of it as well. Yeah.
Well, I think like the way that people say, you can make anything a ritual if you put the energy and focus into it. And like you were saying, I think it's rather than just, it's because it especially in its current form, we're not your typical band setup. We, of course, like, in the material you hear on the album, there's drums, there's guitar, and that's definitely still going to exist as far as, there will be drums in the formulaic sense of a drum kit. There's going to be guitar in future material. But currently with the way that the live setup is now, there isn't, aside from the drum stations that we have. And if anything, that's going to just expand more. But again, like, we still all enjoy guitar. It's not that we just one day decided like, we're not going to have that in anymore. It's just for kind of where things are at right now. It doesn't fit in the way that it did prior. And we've kind of adapted the material to work that way. And certain material that we still haven't sort of connected the current sound with, at least in the way we're happy with. It's still building. But so obviously there's still going to be guitar, there's still going to be that aggression as well. But again, like I was saying earlier, if you listen to, the last single, Ash of Histories, if you've heard some of the newer material at the live rituals that has not been released yet, there is just as much, if not more, of an aggressive tone, just in a different way, a different dynamic than, it would just be an overdriven guitar sound, which, if anything, like I said, with me personally right now, that connects with me more. And I, again, and I'm excited to see how more things turn out with that. Again, if you've watched some of the live videos or if you've been at the live shows, there's a good bit of material that has not been released yet that we're working on, that just has, I'm not really sure how I would describe it aside from just this almost animalistic tone to it, and that's just feels like it's growing, which again I'm excited about. So yeah.
And it's like, it's interesting how each show, like, something else kind of releases inside of you depending on where you are that day, what kind of mood you're in, what you're feeling, what happened that day. Like, it's just nice to get it out on stage and, like, just kind of get lost in the music and the performance. And it differs each night, at least for me personally, like what I'm feeling during each set, which is, it's kind of like exhilarating almost, because it's like, I don't know where am I going to be for this show in my head, but whatever comes out is going to be awesome, at least.
Well, and if anything, going back to, I guess it was the most recent one, the last ritual that we had that you weren't able to make, using that as an example, just with knowing it was going to be kind of like a different setup, knew it would still be good. Everyone involved gives it their all the time, no matter, we work with whatever situation we have, but unfortunately, even though you weren't there, I think with just not knowing how it was going to go and just kind of accepting, like, do our best and go with it, we made it work, and which it's actually up online now that you can watch it if you go to the Cult of TDP YouTube channel. It would have been even more so with the full lineup, but I mean it was a very aggressive and just, for me, that show just hit. It just felt really, I don't know, it felt good, and it was just an overall, we made it work. It was an enjoyable night, and so that's just, it has me excited for the ones that we have coming up somewhat soon. But yeah.
I think that's the foundation of this project, is to just create an atmosphere, and that can be visually with sort of photos and the way we present ourselves on stage, as well as that, creating an atmosphere musically. And to touch upon what you were saying, there's ways to create an atmosphere musically that is dark and aggressive and heavy without your typical metal guitar and things like that. So, as I said earlier, as you grow and change as people, what you create's going to grow and change as well. So, we're still creating an atmosphere, we're still creating music, and still presenting a presentation that is just as dark and heavy and all of those things, just in a slightly different way now. And yeah, I agree. I think the most recent rituals that we've performed live, those most recent shows are, a very, very good, presentation of where we're at right now, as it would be. But those, our most recent performances in particular, I've also been pretty proud of, and I think, we're just going to continue with this, sort of this flow of creative consciousness that we're on right now, and you'll certainly see it change and evolve as well. So it has me excited too.
And I know we've kind of veered away from what the initial subject was, but it all ties together, I think, in that with the current form of the shows, I think each way that we interact, that we act on stage, and again, watching like the last few performance rituals, everything about it that I see, I'm just pleased with, because you can watch the videos and you can just see that we're all in our own zone, in our own world, and so that makes me happy too, because again, obviously everyone that is in the band are people I'm close with, so I enjoy seeing that we're all sort of on another level, and
on another level together.
Right. It's like we're all kind of rising into what we're doing, and how just sort of focused on the actual performance and ritual of it, that you can tell that none of us are, I don't want to say there, but you can tell that we're all just lost in it.
Which is the best, like, I think it's one of my favorite things about it is like just getting lost in the music and feeling what comes to you while playing, like just different movements and just the energy about, like, with all of us on stage, it just kind of like puts you in a place too. Like, we're all here together with it, lost in our own worlds, but still like playing as one unit, and like it's really cool.
Well, and we've had, I mean, many shows, we've had people come up afterwards and say how it took them somewhere, or how it connected with them, or even necessarily if they don't word it that way, if they're, pretty much every performance, someone's gonna normally comes up afterwards and says, and especially in this day and age when you have so much access to see anything online, and when people are still coming up and saying, I've never seen anything like that before,
and they're super surprised,
right? Like because just typically, people would see us and think like, oh, it's gonna be whatever they assume we look like is,
and we've
gonna
heard
sound.
that.
No, we actually have.
We've
had people almost apologize in that they're like, I thought you were just gonna be another whatever, but wow, that really surprised me, and I really enjoyed it. And even though it's sort of a
like
backhanded compliment, I'll still take it. I mean, the fact that we can change people's minds with that is a nice bonus. But no, it's thankfully it's just feels like it's getting stronger with what we're doing. And again, we've had pretty much every performance, someone comes up and just says how it connected with them, and that's, even if it didn't, obviously as long as we're connecting with it, I'm pleased with that. But it's nice to know that other people are finding out about it and enjoying it.
Sure, certainly. It's like the ultimate compliment when you're putting yourself out there, and you're expressing yourself, creating art, if you will. You put your heart into it, and we put our hearts into what we do with this. And, if it connects with somebody on some level, and, they want to tell us directly, like, hey, that really connected with me, like I said, that's like the ultimate compliment to me. And yeah, like I said, I think that's because that we get that a lot. We get that reaction a lot because what we do, it's from the heart. And I think what we want to achieve with what we do is, we want it to be an experience. It's not just a plug in and play band. And I think another reason why it, has gotten a lot of really good feedback in that way, that people say it's not your typical band show. It connects with them on some level, spiritually, whatever, what have you, is, I look at what we do in a lot of ways is it's like medicine. And I don't expect this medicine to work on other people if it doesn't work on myself. So I think what you're seeing is what you get. I don't necessarily walk around in my day-to-day life with the sort of what I call the forest witch crown and the gold and, beaded regalia, the ceremonial garb, what have you. But that didn't come out of nowhere. That came from me because deep inside me, I suppose, somewhere, that's what I thought I should present myself as with this. And I think we all kind of feel that way with our own individual, looks and what we put into each individual experience that is the live ritual. So, and I agree that, if you've been with us for a while, you've definitely seen us progress. And maybe I'm a little biased, but I do think, we've gotten much stronger with everything that we've been putting out there. It's done with a stronger, more confident intent. And I think that's only natural, though. The more you do something, the better you're going to get at it.
And find yourself in it. And
right. And we're always going to be finding ourselves with this, I think. We're never going to get to that point where it's like, okay, I'm satisfied.
Yeah, definitely.
This is what I'm gonna ride this wave just forever.
It's ever evolving.
It's ever evolving, and it can be as little as, instead of doing, my, makeup this way, I'm gonna put a dot here in the middle of my forehead tonight because I'm feeling that's how I need to look for tonight. And it's like what you said too. You kind of you take what you've got inside of you into that ritual that night, so it's what we do, live. It is a reflection of who we are in a lot of, albeit vague, existential ways I'm talking about right now. Just know that came from somewhere, and it came from us.
Like, it doesn't matter what we're feeling that day or what's going on. We know that we can find release on stage.
Absolutely.
And just let it all go.
That's what it's all about.
I think how you said about definitely with the confidence, because as we change and grow, certain things, obviously, as we evolve and adapt to things, at first obviously you're not as confident, but you're still pushing. And then as things fall into place more, as they click more, as you feel certain ways in it, it just grows and expands to the point that obviously when we kind of first started doing the magic rituals, it was completely different, completely new from what we had done before performance-wise. Prior with the chaos rituals, that was, I don't want to say formulaic, but we basically had a structure to how it went. It was a stage performance, and that it was.
I like how you said it was controlled chaos, because it was like we had a little layout to things, but kind of in between was.
Right, there were things
happens.
that were laid out, like you basically had bullet points, but then the performance itself was what it was. But with this, and again from when we first started it was completely different. And so we didn't know, we knew obviously with rehearsing, like, production and rehearsals and things with it, that we knew that it worked on that end. But once you take it live, you don't know. And then also with live settings, every place is different, so you're not quite sure how that'll translate either. And obviously, like I mentioned before, we kind of adapt with that as well now, basically with controlling everything on our side of it. But I think with where we're at now, with the current performances, the greater magic rituals, that it feels like it's what we were building is locked in, and now it's just to grow it with the focus on just making it more of that, and how we're influencing that and how it also influences us. Because obviously when we first started it, that was us taking it from the initial idea, and now that we've kind of lived with that performance style and the material and new material, we know, or I don't even know, we're more familiar with it and how to utilize it.
And I feel like since we're more familiar with it, we're more like willing to explore different options with each kind of like, I'm feeling this, let me see how this works in it.
Right.
And it's fun that we can do that and expand on like the sound we already have.
Well, that's like when watching back some of the last performances, there's things that everyone is kind of adding to it and doing that I hadn't noticed before, or they hadn't done before, that just, it feels like a natural progression and evolution to it. And again, as Jared said, like, even if it's something as simple as, I think I'll switch it up and do this and see how that works. And again, it's based off how you're feeling and how the performance influences you. But it just feels like everything moving forward in a very strong way, which again goes back to what the subject was of how your stage persona and character both identifies with you and differs from you. Like Jared said, I'm not walking around in some of the outfits that we're wearing on stage, but it's, again, a larger amplified version of both how the material makes me feel, how I feel it influences what works for it, and just in general things that are part of it. But and how that changes as things continue on. So I think it's fair to say with who we are on stage is most definitely us. It's just a large,
an amplified version of us.
A larger scale of us, if that's fair. So yes, but other than that, again, I mean, with the new material that we have, it feels like it just is going to get bigger and bigger. I feel that way personally. Like it feels, I don't know if it makes sense to anyone else, but it feels like with what we're doing, that it's sort of like, for where I am with it, that it's right on the cusp of something much larger. And I don't know if that just means, like, as far as writing or how the material's shaping up to be, or just the shows, how they feel like they're connecting on every level and connecting with me deeply. I don't know. It just it feels like something is like closing in that's going to be just very significant, which is good.
Well, I have no doubt it will be significant, because, this, what we do, even us talking right now, is, everything we do with this is pretty significant. Everything that we do and put into this is a very important part of our lives. And, I think that one of the main goals behind this is just for us to be able to express ourselves just uninhibited. And in doing that, throughout time, it's, what we're doing is becoming more and more unique. And, not one show is going to be like any other show that you've seen. It's all going to be a unique experience. We're all going into it with a unique mindset that night. And we're, continuing on with the project in that sort of way, as I like to say, just going with the free flow of the creative consciousness, just having a certain goal in mind, but not necessarily trying to follow a blueprint to get there. It's just you
do what feels right.
What feels right. I was literally just going to say those words. You do what you feel is right, and we're all on that path together. I think with this, there's definitely been, as we were saying, because they go hand in hand, both visually and musically. There's been a progression, I guess a maturity that's come with time, and you're seeing it and hearing it, and you'll definitely continue to see and hear it more as more material gets recorded and more rituals get performed.
I think that's the thing with it too, is that and in the same way that living with it for more time, you understand how it's progressing and evolving better, but the maturity of it, the maturity of not only the performance and how we build it, but also because the style of the material that we're doing is, again, drastically different than a lot of the material off the first album, which I'm happy about, in that obviously the first album, I'm proud of everything we did with it, but there's obvious influences and nods to genres, again, like black metal, or how we were called, more industrial black metal for that one, which is great. I will take that title for that album. But with this next step forward, it still has that in it as far as influences, as we all have many influences, but it's more mature. It's a larger, broader palette we're using.
What were we calling it? Forest industrial?
Right. Yeah, we have a number of different names for it. I think there's forest industrial, ritual industrial, all your fun hashtags that you can look it up with. Just because obviously we are all the very early beginnings of the Destruct Principle were in a more throwback industrial idea, and we're all huge fans of that. But it's good that there is no specifics on what it is. Like it's large, and it takes you somewhere, if that makes any sense. Like I like things that have a big feeling to them, and that, like how Jared said, it's not just a band performing or anything like that. Like when you see us, the goal is obviously with us working with whatever venue or area we're in, we're going to do our best to, once you see our performance start, you're not aware that you're in a club, a bar, wherever we're at, that we transport you during that time and you're lost in it, because we're lost in it, and that's hopefully what we can make others feel. And again, after most shows, we get that compliment from people. So, and I think that listening to the material, you still get a sense of that, but actually being there, yeah, obviously, like,
because we've heard that a lot too, listening to like our material and our album like all the way through is like taking people places, and
right, and that's
like pretty good too.
That's the goal with all of it, is to, whether you're listening to recorded material of us, whether you're at the live rituals, is that it does something to you that takes you out of the normal feeling of day to day. You're somewhere else, and I mean, that's basically what we're aiming for. That's what it does to us, and that's always good if it does that for someone else. And that's, like I said, when you see us on stage, when you see the videos and things like that, you can pretty obviously tell we're somewhere else.
Certainly, it's escapism. That's why people like to listen to music, like to go to shows. It takes you on a journey, and yeah, that's definitely what we want to achieve. Is we want to go on a journey and take you with us.
Well, because for me personally, like when I would go to shows, like I want to be entertained, I want to be taken somewhere else. Like, so that's kind of, I feel like we all bring that to us because we want to entertain you and take you on a journey, like you said.
That certainly goes into the visual aspect of what we were, going to maybe focus on with this discussion is, when you talk about putting on an entertaining performance, for us, the visuals are a huge part of that. I think if you see any footage of us or see us live, you'll know that's a very important part of what we do, something we're really proud of. We put a lot of work into the visual presentation because that's, of course, only going to help you get lost in what you're seeing and hearing, I mean, it goes hand in hand, like I said, it just accompanies the journey, I couldn't do what we do in just a pair of blue jeans, I mean, it's not who we are, it's not what we do. It's like I said, it's all about taking what we do is taking ourselves on a journey. And
well, and with that, if you've followed Jared or myself through any of the prior things we've been involved in, you'll know that obviously anything we're involved in has a both visual and sonic
there should be a marriage between the two. Yeah, and it's definitely an offering of both equally as important.
And so, especially with the Destruct Principle and with the magic rituals, the emphasis on the presentation is even more so than I think what the Chaos Ritual used to be, and that this one doesn't work without the other, and the more options and the abilities that we have to grow, that is just going to obviously get larger and larger. I think for the scale that we are at, and again, everything that you see with us is what we do ourselves. So we are
100% DIY.
Everything you see as far as stage production, anything you're hearing, 99% of the time is completely us. Right down to the recordings and things, and now most recently basically doing our own sound live to make sure it translates the way that we want it to. Only thing we don't really dive into is for when the songs are mastered, we send that off. But otherwise, most of the time it is 100% us. Photography, the artwork, everything like that. And thankfully, each member of the group has those talents that can be utilized. So it's very much just it's not what you see on stage, what you see live. We might not be that amped up all day, all night, but it follows us. It is a part of us always. It's basically a constant as far as working on things, ideas, constructing both physical, audio, just everything. So while again the on stage persona and performance is not always who we are with it is. So I think that's a good description of it.
Yes, yeah. It's like when you listen to us or see us live, it's it's almost like you're going to another planet. Like we're creating,
we're creating a
created
different world
our
for
own
you.
little world of everything that is the entity of TDP is like its own little world that we've created.
Well, I like to think of it, especially with the most recent performances, for me personally, and I don't know, it's probably both, in that the way that it's been influencing me and then me giving back the influences I'm taking in recently. It's, as odd as it may sound, it's just this own sort of spiritual area that it's hitting in a way that's new to me and different than how it used to, which is exciting because I want to dive deeper into that, because just the way that things are shaping up, at least for me mentally, and ideas and things, I think that's part of why I was saying it feels like it's on the cusp of something bigger, and that once it breaks open, it feels like this endless area of possibilities. And with anything, I think you should be excited about things, what's to come. But with this, it has an energy to it that is different than what I felt before with it. And it could be the maturity of it. It could be the confidence in that it feels like it's locked in, but also I think what we're building towards is going to be just a very strong outcome. And again, it's especially with the performances, it's just like this other level of this spiritual area, which I'm enjoying probably the most out of any of the times we've been doing this. And it feels, not that any other time didn't, but it feels the most authentic to what I currently am. And so I'm looking forward to it.
And that's what I feel like you have to be, like, true to yourself, be who you are. Don't try to be something or anything you're not, because the best is when you're yourself. And who cares if people don't like it, because you like it.
I think anyone that would see the Destruct Principle or any of us in general I think that's, it's like, well, if they don't like it, there's not really a chance of winning them over. There are the ones that might not be sure of it, but if they automatically see us or see what it is and write it off, there, I don't think, especially once we start the performance, that I don't think we'll. But that's fine.
We've made
with
them
me.
feel something.
Exactly. I don't think anyone ever leaves a performance with on the middle ground.
Yeah, I don't think we're for casual people necessarily. Everything we do is, I suppose, extreme in a way, and everything we do is it's honest too. I think, like you said, what you're seeing is a reflection of who we are and where we are, and it might be cool to me in some way to think I still want to be up there headbanging like I used to, but that's not where I am right now, and that's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna do what we feel we need to do with it. So that's, as I keep saying, it's a reflection of us.
So I think that pretty much hits on at least the subject that this was going to be about. We have a number of different things that we have lined up as far as topics that we think are interesting to us, and in general. Obviously, there's still going to be Razor's take on this as well. There's going to be, if it hasn't already shown up, there's going to be the sort of individual member introductions and things as well. So we're hoping to have a lot of content coming out soon with our, vodcasts. We're always putting up the live rituals that we're able to record and get good audio on. But hopefully it will be of interest to some people to kind of see behind the scenes and more laid back and subdued versions.
Getting to know the human beings behind, what we create and what you see and hear.
But I'm trying to remember some of the other subjects that you'll probably be hearing us discussing in the future. It was the relevance and importance of lyrics and words, writings in general. Getting more on a again spiritual level with meditations and things like that we do to kind of bring ourselves down from maybe not great places, or to just find a calming center in ourselves. Just a lot of different things that we're hopefully going to hit on that, again, are of interest to us and hopefully will be to other people. But you can find the Destruct Principle. We have it on basically all the socials that would benefit it. So you've got, obviously, the regular website. We're on Facebook, Instagram. We do have a Twitch channel that we will hopefully be doing actual live streams from soon. I don't know what else. Oh, there's Twitter. Other than that, we all have our individual places. So I will let them give their little shout outs.
I'm kitty.witch with 2 V's. You can find all my stuff. All my links are in my bio on there.
You have a link tree with all of it, right?
Yes, link tree.
So yeah.
A tree with links.
And then you've got Jared and his artworks.
Yeah, as far as public social media stuff outside of TDP, although it does relate to TDP, a lot of the collage artwork that I create is on Instagram under the banner of Collages from Hell. You can just type in Collages from Hell in Instagram and you should be able to find me pretty quickly. Some of those pieces are actually going to be used perhaps for future TDP related artworks and materials relating to TDP. As far as my public social media stuff, that's probably the main one would be my collage artwork.
Well, and also, if you've been to any of the live rituals, you can buy prints of
Yep, I
his
have
collages from
prints
hell.
available at our live performances as well.
And if you see any on his Instagram, you can talk to him about getting those printed.
Yeah, you can reach out to him for prints, and you're also starting to post more of your paintings.
They're kick ass. I love them.
Oh, thank you. Yep, I'm always open to offers. So if you find a piece of some sort of artwork that I've created and you really want it, please get in touch with me or through TDP, and I'm sure we can work something out.
Yeah, it's mostly on the Instagram. You'll see it reshared. You've probably seen a number of different works from him, and as he said, there's going to be some merch coming up that most likely has some of his work on it. So, or even on my personal page, I picked up one of his paintings that was connected with me. I enjoyed. So, but yes, and then as far as myself, I'm on. I should make a link tree, or I think I have one. I don't remember what the link is though, but yeah, you can find my Facebook is adamrobert.paul, and then I'm on everything else. I think is he's been using brand X, and you'll find things off there. But otherwise, I think that's the first one down of multiple people chatting, so these will probably get more cohesive over time or more free form.
This was the first
I don't
one.
know.
I think we did pretty good.
I thought it went well.
Yeah.
As good as it could. It could have been a lot worse.
Yes, it could. I
So-
could have not talked at all.
Again, find us on all the socials, the website. Performances coming up. A good many of them,
June
actually.
16th at Love Dress.
Yeah, I think we're in Mechanicsburg and New York and a bunch of different places. But otherwise, we will have more coming soon and more material and everything in between. So